nomination. And I just wonder, from Republicans, obviously, specifically, but I wonder, we haven't heard much of anything about any of the Biden team reaching out on that front. I feel like that seems like something that you might do and not wait for the January 5th outcome. So would you just sort of, what are you doing to reach out even to the moderates on the Republican side? And then also, I can't resist just asking, the president-elect obviously said he has had some outreach from Republicans. I'm congratulating him. If you could expound on that and maybe tell us who, that'd be great.
We appreciate the question and certainly understand why you're asking. We are certainly not going to read out on his behalf his private conversations. I will say I'm surprised to hear you suggest that about Neera Tanden, who's been nominated to lead the OMB. And just as a reminder, she is the first woman of color who is nominated to serve in that position. There has been extensive outreach on behalf of all of our nominees to Democratic and Republican offices. There has been a range of strong support and for her qualifications, for the connection, her personal story. And I know you may know this, Trish, but just for others, I mean, Neera is somebody who not only has decades of policy experience, but she is somebody who has lived experience, having, as a child, she benefited from Section 8 housing vouchers, from food stamps. She brings a fresh perspective to this role. And that's one of the reasons that the president-elect and the vice president-elect were so excited about nominating her. So, you know, I will just say, though, on nominations, we've all been, this is not any of our first rodeo, I don't think. We fully expected there to be some disagreement. Sometimes it's expressed more in the press than even expressed necessarily privately. We fully expected that. But we also know the American people expect that the Senate will move forward in considering and confirming qualified nominees. And we certainly, we believe then the president-elect wouldn't have nominated anyone who he didn't feel was qualified and the right person for the job.
Great. We'll take our next question from Zeke Miller.
Thank you all for doing this.
Sure.
Kate, as part of the agency review process and the interviews and meetings, has the president-elect's team identified any Trump administration officials that the president-elect would want to keep on, obviously leaving out careers, but focusing on political appointees and folks along the lines of Dr. Deborah Birx or Gina Haspel in either the COVID space or the national security space to create some continuity between the two administrations, or does he want a clean break?
Thanks for the question, Zeke. So, you know, the process since ascertainment has been a very efficient one. We're grateful, as I said, certainly to the civil servants, but also to a number of folks in the Trump administration who have been helpful and forthcoming with information. We are in the process of assessing, and the president-elect is in the process of assessing, along with the agency review teams, what the map will look like moving forward for staffing and for some of the core decisions that need to be made about staffing. So I don't have any announcements I can make today in terms of names, but certainly the president-elect first and foremost is focused on building out agencies that are competent, that are capable, able to carry forward the important work of the government, and are able to, in the first instance, are able to get this virus under control, to get the vaccine distributed. Those are important logistical undertakings that are going to require some of the work that's been laid down by the administration, but is also going to require an efficient partnership moving forward. So it's premature to name any names in this moment, but the ART process is proceeding. We are gathering important information that we need to be able to make decisions about how best and how efficiently to serve the American people and to tackle these crises that we're facing as a country.
Great. We'll take our next question from Megan Kasawa.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for holding this call. I wanted to ask, we've heard a lot of concerns this week about diversity in the cabinet, particularly in the most prominent positions. Can you address some of those concerns and say whether the president-elect has committed to choosing someone who is not white to be his defense secretary or attorney general?
Well, thank you very much for the question. Look, what I would say first and foremost is, the president-elect certainly understands and hears and welcomes the voices that are pushing him on diversity. That is how we make progress in this country. The The groups who are advocating for diverse names are doing their job. And as you heard the president-elect say in an interview last night, he's doing his. He has thus far put forward historic nominees for a number of these positions. And, I would remind you that we've only made 8 of 23 cabinet nominations at this point. So we are still very early in the process, and the president-elect is committed to selecting the most qualified individuals for each job, people who are going to bring diverse perspectives, who are going to bring diverse life stories to the table. I think he has shown that in the nominees that he's rolled out thus far. And he's certainly committed to continuing to do that as he makes these announcements as we move forward in the coming weeks.
And I'll just note, just because you gave us the opportunity, I mean, there have been a number of exciting, as I started this briefing saying, nominees who are making history. And it's not just because they're diverse, it's because they're the most qualified people for the job. And I think we have to be mindful about also ensuring that we are leading with that, because these are the people, the president-elect and the vice president-elect are picking the best people. And diversity is an absolute priority, but we have the first African-American woman to lead the CEA. We have the first African-American to be Deputy Treasury Secretary. Those are 2 people who have a seat at the table and have prominent roles in helping rebuild our economy. And there's more to come, of course, but I think we should also recognize the incredible historic picks that have already been announced.
Great. Take our next question from Kara Voigt.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for doing this. I have a question about CEA nominee Heather Boushey. Is the Biden transition evaluating or taking any action in light of criticisms of mismanagement and verbal abuse that a former employee has raised about her?
I appreciate the question. I would say that Heather Boushey is a renowned progressive economist, and many people have spoken out in support of her nomination. I know that the center where she used to work has put out a number of statements, and I would certainly refer you to them for any comment on some of the accusations that have been put forward.
Great, and we'll take our final question from Jennifer Epstein.
Hey guys, I have 2 questions. One to follow up on Megan's question from a minute ago, in terms of if you could just kind of talk a little bit more about the very senior team, the people who are going to be interacting with the president on a daily basis. Can we expect that there will be more racial diversity in those picks to come, whether it's additional senior staff in the White House or AG or Defense Secretary? And then my second question is kind of following up on something that he brought up during the CNN interview yesterday, which is that he said his son and his family will not be involved in any business, any enterprise that is in conflict with or appears to be in conflict with the presidency and government. And I was just wondering if you have kind of an ethics code that's already been determined, that's written down, saying that, and exactly how that will apply if his family members will be signing such an agreement. And then I guess kind of in addition to that, what kind of ethics rules are you going to put in place for all these new appointees? People are coming in with lots of different kinds of financial backgrounds and lots of stuff in their portfolios. Are you going to, and how are you working through that right now?
Well, thanks for the question, Jen. I think, as you know, from having closely followed our campaign, this ethics code for members of his family is something that he talked about during the campaign and committed to during the campaign. And so what you heard yesterday was a reiteration of promises that he made on the campaign trail about what business would look like, what government would look like in his White House. Obviously he was a core part of the Obama-Biden administration, which was a White House that saw 8 years free of any kind of ethics issue or scandal. And that's the kind of leadership that President-elect Biden is going to bring to his White House as well. So in terms of more fulsome announcements about ethics codes and how it will apply to employees, I would expect that those are announcements that we will make in the coming weeks and months. But you can be assured that President-elect Biden is committed to the highest levels of ethical conduct in his White House. To the second piece of your question about diversity amongst the senior staff, I think we have rolled out thus far a diverse slate of senior staff, including people who are going to be helping to run some of the biggest departments in the White House, people who are going to have direct access to the president, who are diverse and come from diverse backgrounds. It's something that President-elect Biden feels incredibly strongly about. It was important to the way he put together his campaign, and it's important to the way he's putting together his White House. Again, I would go back to some of the things that Jen and I have said on this call already about the historic nature of some of the picks that have been made for the most senior jobs in government, both within the White House and within the cabinet. This is something that President-elect Biden takes incredibly seriously, and you see it evidenced in the historic people that he's put forward for these jobs. So as he continues to staff out his White House, maintaining an incredibly diverse set of perspectives around him will be critically important to him.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.